The 4.0 livestream showed us a lot of things coming in the new region, so here are all the features I am personally really excited for and some lore speculations. If you enjoy these kind of videos, please remember to subscribe. This video will be split into two primary parts, the lore speculation part and the features I am excited part. Lore speculations. The thing that caught my eye the most, like yes, the Archon quest looks like it's going to be an absolute blast. It feels like it's on the same premise as Inazuma, where the god isn't doing what they're supposed to do, and the people are split in two, with one supporting said god and the other not supporting the god. Now I hope they learn from the criticisms of the Inazuma storyline and bring us something as good or even better than the Sumeru storyline. Anyway, with that out of the way, the thing that caught my eye the most was the two dancing robot boss thing, the animal and cryo one. I'm so intrigued on knowing the lore behind those two. My lore interests tend to only be on characters and regions as a whole, rather than the enemies in them. But they seem so interesting, and I can't wait to learn more about them when Fontaine drops. I might even dedicate a whole video if I find something I really want to share. Next, potential Bennett lore. In the main flagship event for 4.0 week, we will get Bennett for free. And also in the Dance Dance Resolution event, I think that's what the name is, the robot looks like Bennett, and they kind of hinted at there being a story as to why a toy in Fontaine looks like an adventurer from Mondstadt. So I'm wondering what's the story there. Considering Bennett's origins are pretty much unknown and people just tend to speculate he's from Natlin because Pyro, there really isn't much we know about him, so I wouldn't mind some level of Bennett lore at least. I don't think they're going to go too much in depth with it, but it would be really nice if we get something for him. A lot of 4-stars don't really get talked about that often, especially when they're like older 4-stars. So I'm hoping Hoivos uses this version to like tell us more about Bennett. Next, the Star Frost Snail. The Snail Frost. Hold on. The Sky Frost Snail. That's the name. Anywho, I want to know what civilization, or I guess what people were wiped out at the bottom of Fontaine seas. Considering they do tell us that most of those places used to be above ground, I want to know if those people were wiped out before Fontaine drowned or after Fontaine drowned. They showed us a glimpse of like the Sky Frost Snail underwater, so we know those people are gone now. And every region has one in some area, and each has its own story. So I wonder what is Fontaine's one's gonna be. Like how does it correlate to Fontaine's overarching storyline? I also want to note this before I forget. Despite the fact that we saw Arlen Kino in the first Fontaine teaser, Child was the harbinger present in the 4.0 trailer. Maybe Arlen Kino won't be coming until the finale of Chapter 4, which I assume is 4.2 since the story is split into 3 versions, 4.0, 4.1, and 4.2. Either way, I hope she has more screen time than Dotare did in the Sumeru Archon quest. Despite being a sinister and terrifying Fatui, he didn't really have that much screen time, so I didn't really feel pressured him being in the Archon quest. His first introduction was quite chilling. I felt a shiver down my spine. When Nahida was stabbed, I was genuinely terrified for her. So I'm hoping Arlen Kino has like something similar, but just more screen time and more influence on the story. And I'm also hoping that, Focalor does not lose her Gnosis, or at least fights for it. The other Archons, for the most part, are pretty lenient on like leaving it. Venti practically let Signora take it. Zhongli made a deal for it. Yamiko traded us for it. And Nahida traded information for it. So most other Archon just gave it to them basically. I'm hoping Focalor at least fights for hers and just refuses to give it, or gives it to us for some reason. Like I need the Fatui to not get every single Gnosis. Like it just gets boring if they get it every single time. Speaking of Dottore, in the Sumeru teaser, he was shown burning down Irminsul, or what looks like a giant tree, which was Irminsul, but we never actually see that happen. Was that something that would have happened had we not stopped him, or did Hoya just abandon that storyline for some reason? The characters I am most excited for, like story-wise, lore-wise, will have to be Nouvelet. I don't know if he's a dragon or if he's from Conria. He gives us both vibes, and he could be both. So I wonder what Hoyover is going to do with his story. I don't think we're going to know much about him until like 4.3, 4.2 maybe. I'm not sure. He seems like he will be an important part of the Archon quest, so maybe potentially 4.1, 4.2, those areas. Ryothesli, or Risley for some, I hope he's not actually pronounced Risley. I will pronounce him Ryothesli until Hoyoverse gives us the pronunciation of his name. Ryothesli was not in the 4.0 trailer at all, so I'm assuming his involvement in the Archon quest is either very small or just later, just like Arlen Kino. Fontaine cast seems quite fun. Like the last time I had this much fun with a cast would probably be the Sumeru cast. So I'm hoping Hoyoverse does the same thing and we have like a huge cast of characters. We learn a lot about them and they all participate properly in the story, and it's not just the traveler going from one person to another. That we have another heist situation. Sumeru's heist situation was very fun. It was really very well written. So whatever we're doing in Fontaine, is it called a coup? A coup? When you go against your government? It's called a coup in French. Yes, a coup. This is what it's called in French. When you go against your government, or you try to unseat an unfit member of the government or leader. I'm assuming that the main Archon quest would just be a coup. I think that's it, lore-wise. I'm very excited. I'm sure there are lots of things that Hoyo is going to release that I'm going to be really excited for. But for now, based solely on the 4.0 livestream, this is everything I'm excited for, lore-wise. Feature discussions. The livestream was so hyped, and I don't even know where to begin for the features. I am mostly surprised by how they handled the underwater mechanics. I was sort of worried it would be a small part and not well fleshed out, but hearing all they went through to make this possible and all that was achieved despite certain limitations really made me like the underwater aspect a lot more. I cannot wait to start exploring, and the fact that there isn't a stamina system like breathing makes it so much more enjoyable. Like if the underwater area was a much smaller part of Fontaine, then maybe a breathing mechanic could have been used as a challenge like Dragonspine's Sheer Cold. But considering how big the underwater area is, it's a 50-50, like it's gonna be around 50-50 from like the land part and the underwater part, which makes it quite big. Having a breathing mechanic would just be annoying rather than challenging. I am glad they didn't try to go too realistic with the swimming mechanics and that we can dive really deep into what seems to be underwater caves and ruins. I played this game mostly for the exploration aspect, so this whole underwater big open space exploration thing is right up my alley. And I'm glad they didn't make it like an annoying thing to do, considering Genshin's exploration takes a long time to finish. Speaking of exploration, the multi-layered map was a godsend. I have been getting my exploration done slowly but surely, and the map update will be quite helpful when I decide to tackle Sumeru's desert and underground areas. I might try to finish Fontaine first since it will be released in parts and that would make it easier to digest. From the way the UI, is that what you call UI looks from the map, I think they made it much cleaner to like switch through the different layers of map. It's not clunky, which is good. In the dev talk that was released a few days before the livestream, there was some sort of hinting towards an artifact loadout system, but it wasn't really talked about in the livestream, so I can't tell if it's because they haven't finished it or because it's just not, they just don't feel a need to like talk about it. Like, they didn't talk about the Strongbox either, which I'm assuming comes in 4.0, so I can't entirely be sure. I do hope they implement an actual loadout system and not just the equipped artifact system like on Star Rail where it gives you automatic artifacts. I would just prefer to just pick out my own artifacts at that point. We have a bunch of new weapons coming out, some new BP weapons. I don't pay for the BP, but if you do, you have like 5 new weapons to choose from, some craftables, and some only available through wishing, like gacha weapons. My favorite is the pipe one. I don't know how you get it, but I'm assuming it's like the swordfish bow one and you have to like complete something in game. Hopefully it's not fishing. I love when they make goofy, impractical looking weapons like this. It's fun and even better when they're actually usable on a few characters. Like my Changyun still uses the fish claymore from that one event. When it comes to features, I think that's all I have to say. Tell me what you are most excited about Fontaine in the comments, subscribe, and see you whenever. Thanks for watching!